I wouldn't say that this was as strong of an episode as the previous ones we've gotten from this season, at least in terms of the story being told, but the dynamic between characters really shined throughout the episode. We start off back on Pabu with the clones enjoying their little paradise away from the Empire, and I was disappointed to see that we just skipped over the initial reunion that we ended last episode on. So many fans were looking forward to seeing what the conversation between Crosshair and Hunter was going to be like, and we never got to see it on screen, although based on how this episode approaches their relationship, it would seem as though nothing ever happened there. Crosshair might have just gotten on the ship with everybody being silent and skeptically observant of him. Although it would have been an interesting moment to see, we still got the important conversations with Crosshair and Hunter here in this episode, which was what really mattered. When we pick back up with them on Pabu, Crosshair is off practicing a shot with a shaking hand, which seems like it's becoming a major problem for him, made evident by his mediocre accuracy with AZ. I liked the way this was used to open the episode, because it does a really good job of showing us all of these complicated character dynamics in only a few short minutes. Hunter and Wrecker don't feel the need to go look for Crosshair when they find him missing from the ship, but when Omega is the one to go find him, they both tag along to watch over from a cliff dwelling. They're both skeptical of him, but they're also not handling it in the best way. While Crosshair is mostly to blame here, it isn't like it's a one-sided affair when it comes to resolving the issue. When we pick up here, both sides are being very coy about it and refusing to confront the issue at hand. Even when Omega visits Crosshair, he's unwilling to admit that there are any problems, either with his hand or otherwise. She did mention a Shep and Lyanna, and I don't recall if those were locals on Pabu previously introduced or not, but I found it odd that they were mentioned multiple times within the first few minutes and yet never appeared on screen. Echo then returns to see Omega again, and because of where we left them, I had assumed that Rex would be back as well, so it was disappointing to not see him, but I guess he wasn't necessary for the mission at hand. Echo comes back to gather intel from Omega and Crosshair regarding Tantus, since he and Rex have been looking into it and trying to formulate a mission to get there. They don't get much in this episode in terms of data, besides the medical records coming from Nalise's tablet, but Echo's return did serve a nice purpose in this episode. Even though he doesn't get along with Crosshair at first, I feel like he came around pretty quickly. Crosshair and Hunter are the two brothers fighting with each other, and Echo is the one that moved out of the house a long time ago, and is more here for the entertainment than helping them resolve the issue. He even makes a comment at the end to Omega about there being less blood this time, and just for how random of a comment it seemed, I loved it. He had a few of those lines throughout the episode where it felt like he was being used as a sort of comedic relief, and I really liked him in that role, as long as it never became constant. Echo also tries to help Omega get over her guilt from Tantus. A driving force for her going on this mission is that she feels like she needs to do something, since she left all of the other clones behind on Tantus when she escaped, but Echo tells her that she did what she needed to do and got out of there, hopefully making her feel less guilty about it all. In order to access the datapad, the batch need to hook it up to an Imperial terminal, so they return to Barden 4, the planet where Crosshair acted out against the Empire and killed an Imperial officer. I really liked the way they called back to a previous episode, in a way that made more sense than choosing another new location. Having this be a base that only Crosshair knows about adds more to the story, because it creates the tension that he's the one they have to rely on, acting as the perfect test of loyalty. As I mentioned previously, the character dynamics were really the shining star of the episode, and while that was mainly due to Crosshair and Hunter, Crosshair and Omega also had some nice moments. Besides when she finds him doing target practice on the beach, I liked the lighthearted tone to them talking before the mission. Crosshair reminds Omega that she's still a kid, and Hunter is right to worry about her, but she rebukes by saying that she's older and calling Crosshair her little brother. It isn't much, but especially compared to the way the other members treat Crosshair, it's nice to see the two of them maintain that friendly sibling bond. Crosshair has his armor and rifle back for the mission, and it brings back all of the old memories from Season 1. They also bring Badger along, which I was really glad about. There was concern that they would drop her off on Pabu and she'd be out of the story for the most part, only being seen whenever they return there, but I like how she continues to serve a purpose in the story, and she proves useful on multiple occasions, like digging out the door or sensing the worm creature coming. Although the monsters can get a bit old sometimes, this one wasn't too bad. I had known it was coming as soon as we arrived on the planet because of the promotional material, so that may have fueled the disappointment, but it wasn't like it was on screen too much. The teases of the creature didn't work for me, because I already knew about it, but the worm had its moment on screen, a few close calls, and then it disappears for a bit, which I actually thought was a great decision as a method of turning it into a looming threat from the shadows. It was also kind of predictable that turning off the perimeter sensors would have some intended consequence, but again, not too big of a deal. During this entire mission, the spotlight was on Crosshair and Hunter for the most part, showcasing their mistrust and path towards reconciliation. Hunter is concerned when they arrive that the outpost is abandoned entirely, and even though it would seem like good news, he's still upset with Crosshair for not telling them that. No matter what, anything Crosshair does isn't good enough for him. It's easy to hate Hunter how he's acting towards Crosshair, especially with how we've been with Crosshair more and have seen his side of the story, but it's important to remember that Hunter is only doing this because he cares about Omega, and we can't forget everything Crosshair has done in the past either. I was also curious if Hunter's special enhancement had any role in sensing Crosshair's lies or half-truths. Crosshair stumbles upon a pile of old clone helmets, and it was really moving seeing his character take the time to reflect and organize all of their helmets, honoring them after death. Tensions start ramping up between Crosshair and Hunter when they go outside to search the perimeter, and I'm glad they finally talked it out here, because I was starting to get impatient. Crosshair basically admits to what he did, betraying the Empire and shooting an Imperial officer, but as he puts it, that's not the only thing this is about. At first I thought he was talking about Tech, maybe Hunter puts the blame for his death on Crosshair for some reason, but it's really because Hunter's own failings were the reason Omega was captured and taken to Tantus, so he wanted to be the one to make amends and rescue her, not have Crosshair be the one to get her out. I hope Hunter's guilt from allowing Omega to be captured continues to play a role, leading up to maybe a one-on-one conversation with her, because as the fatherly figure we've seen him become, that should be something that eats at him for a while, even with her now free again. This was a lot of progress made in one moment, and it's shown immediately after when Hunter saves Crosshair from the worm attack. And then later on, when luring the creature out beyond the sensors, Crosshair is the one to save Hunter from being stuck in the ice, which makes it hard for him to stay mad still. I'm sure they'll still have a ways to go, but the final moments of Hunter taking the opportunity to empathize with Crosshair for the mistakes he made and basically tell him it's okay, rather than condemn him for everything, it shows a lot of progress. What did you think of this episode of The Bad Batch? Let me know in the comments below. Remember to like the video, and subscribe for coverage of The Bad Batch as a new episode premieres every week, and remember to follow me on Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok. Thank you all for watching, and remember, the Force will be with you. Always.